everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with some more intriguing wrestling news. More news earlier today on the channel, of course, from Tom Campbell, but we've got a lot of Fallout-based news, not the popular video game franchise, but the fallout from SummerSlam, the fallout from last night's Raw even, and all the various reasons for various different strange things that have happened, as well as a few other extra news bits sprinkled nicely here and there. So, without any further ado, let's take a look at those lovely headlines. First of all, a WWE Superstar appears to have been upset with being left off SummerSlam 2020. Next up, it's been reported that just about everything was changed at the very last minute on Raw last night. Oh, Vince. Oh, bloody Vince. And finally, legendary all-time NBA great Shaquille O'Neal has teased joining AEW. So yes, first of all, a WWE Superstar was upset with being left off of the SummerSlam card, and it's none other than Alexa Bliss. Alexa recently took to social media to answer a few questions, well, a couple of questions in particular, as well as liking a few tweets regarding her absence from the show. One person, for example, said, "Where has Alexa been in this card?" And she responded, "Good question." She also replied to somebody asking if she was injured, saying, "Nope, no injury here. She just doesn't know why she wasn't on the show," and doesn't seem to be too happy about it either. And Alexa's frustration is pretty understandable, I think, to be honest. She had recently become a very key part, a focal point of this feud between The Fiend and Braun Strowman. That seemed to be the biggest program heading into SummerSlam as well. It was the main event of the show, but Bliss didn't turn up at all. In the build-up to the show, a lot of people were speculating that she could maybe help The Fiend win because Braun had seemingly turned his back on their friendship. Well, seemingly, he'd press slammed her in the middle of the ring. And also, she was stroking The Fiend's mask that time to show that maybe she's on his side now or something. It was all very ambiguous, but it seemed to be leading somewhere, didn't it? Some people even theorizing that it could have been a planned double cross between Bliss and Strowman to lure The Fiend off guard, and then potentially she'd even help Strowman retain, but none of that in the end happened. What actually happened was that The Fiend and Strowman had a Falls Count Anywhere match. It was changed quite last minute, I think on Talking Smack on the Friday before the show. The stipulation, that is, was changed. They had a Falls Count Anywhere match, and The Fiend just won, pretty much. There weren't, I mean, there was obviously weapons involved, and the ring, the canvas was ripped up, and the ring boards were exposed, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. There was nothing particularly supernatural or swervy about The Fiend's victory. He just beat Strowman and took his belt. Then, of course, Roman Reigns came along, making his big return, spearing guys left, right, and centre, and basically saying, "I'm back. I'm now the top dog." He lifted the belt, implying that he's going to have it. And Alexa was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, I don't know what the reason is. I can theorise, I can guess, I suppose, that maybe Roman's return was, you know, very last minute between WWE and Roman. They had a bit of a discussion, and then he, you know, agreed to at the last minute, and Alexa's portion of the show had to be axed. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was something like Roman's return was kept a secret from large members, like the large percentage of the locker room, so that nobody knew and could leak it, and maybe that's why Bliss was left off the show while appearing to be built up to be on the show. I don't really know. That's just speculation, but I can understand Alexa's frustration. And apologies if your Amazon Echo device was going crazy during me talking about Bliss. Now on to a linked story, which is that the original plans for the SummerSlam main event have been revealed, and I'll explain how it's linked in a second. So PW Insider are reporting that apparently the planned main event for SummerSlam was actually going to be the WWE title match between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, not the Universal title match between The Fiend and Braun Strowman. And the reason that I say that this story is potentially linked is because surely this change was made because Roman Reigns was coming back. I feel like WWE would really have wanted to end the show on a big shocking note, to go with the tagline especially of "you never see it coming," and then the Roman obviously turning up at the end was a surprise, and it caught a lot of people off guard. And it was just a big climactic ending to the show, wasn't it? I assume that the original plan of having Drew and Orton on last would have been because Drew obviously won the match and we'd have a nice babyface ending to close the show. However, and The Fiend obviously beating Strowman isn't the happiest of endings out there. However, it seems like plans were changed for some reason, and the only reason I can possibly think of is because Roman's return was right at the end and was a massive talking point on which to close the show. That's why I was suggesting just a second ago that maybe this was a last minute call or something that had been kept secret from a lot of people backstage in WWE, because it all did seem like the show was shuffled around at the last second just to accommodate Roman's return. And if they'd known he was coming back in advance, they wouldn't have really felt the need to do that. So I wondered just how late this decision was reached, or at least revealed to most of the WWE employees. I mean, we have, of course, seen examples in the past of WWE hiding shock returns from even their own locker room. Like, who can forget the bit on WWE 24 where the Hardy Boys sneak into WrestleMania 33 and nobody knows they're going to be there. They're not in the general locker room. They're in some office somewhere, just hiding out. I think they're on their coach outside for a bit as well. Just totally hiding out from everybody, even their own colleagues. So very interesting stuff, but it wasn't just SummerSlam that saw its plans changed recently, because last night's Raw is said to have undergone massive last-minute changes when apparently Vince walked in, tore up the script, as he sometimes does, just because, and that meant that the writing team and everybody had to really scramble to put the show together. Some changes were apparently still being made as the show was going on. Again, PW Insider are reporting that when Vince McMahon arrived at the taping, with not that long left to go until showtime, he began changing just about everything that was already planned. Now, the full extent of these changes is not actually known. However, Fightful are reporting that WWE cut 3 specific segments from the show, all of them being Raw Underground segments. Could this indicate possibly that Vince is sick of Raw Underground already? Or maybe it was just to accommodate other things into the show? I'm not quite certain. But Fightful are saying that the following segments had been done, they were recorded and then scrapped. First of all, Jessamyn Duke and Marina Shafir, 2 of the 4 horsewomen of MMA, both won matches against enhancement talent, with Jessamyn Duke's running only about a minute long, and reportedly she got high praise in this segment for her striking. However, we're not gonna see that. Also, Titus O'Neil got a bit of time to shine, which turned into a fight with Riddick Moss. It's not mentioned who actually won that. Maybe it was an inconclusive ending to the brawl. And finally, Ivar of the Viking Raiders faced Dolph Ziggler, who's been absolutely killing it in Raw Underground. Then Angel Garza got involved and did a ton of huge bumps, apparently. However, it wasn't all of Raw Underground that was cut last night. We did see a couple of segments. For example, we saw Bobby Lashley versus Dolph Ziggler, which I believe, there's so much happened last night, but I think Lashley won, didn't he? I think he threw Ziggler into the crowd. And also Lashley versus Cedric Alexander. So the Hurt Business stuff was kept in, the Lashley stuff, but it seems like the other stuff was scrapped, but we don't know the reason why yet. Very intriguing stuff there. Now, a bit of a card update from a big show taking place, I nearly said across the pond, but it's across several ponds really, isn't it? In Japan, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, to be precise. Actually, having said that, I think this one's taking place in the United States, but I feel a bit silly now. Anyway, the card has been announced and it features some ex-WWE names. The main event features one of them, PJ Black, formerly known of course as Justin Gabriel of Nexus, will take on Chase Owens. At the moment, PJ Black does wrestle regularly, or as regularly as he can at the moment, for Ring of Honor, but has also made a few appearances in New Japan recently. There's also going to be an 8-man tag team match in which TJP, ACH, Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors will face Mysterioso, Barrett Brown, Blake Christian and Adrian Quest. Christian and Quest made their debuts actually for the company during last month's tour, so an exciting opportunity for those boys is continuing. And we'll also see Danny Limelight, somebody I'm not too familiar with, but he made his debut during the Lions Break Collision shows, will face Jordan Clearwater in a singles match. And basically, this Friday's Strong show, that's what it's called, I'm not just giving my opinion. It looks like a really strong show. No, this Friday's New Japan Strong show will mark the start of the Road to Fighting Spirit tour. The preview on New Japan or NJPW972.com has mentioned that Fighting Spirit Unleashed will be a 2-night event starting in September. And finally, Shaquille O'Neal has talked about wrestling in AEW. Right, okay, let's have a look at this. So Shaquille O'Neal has basically re-signed with Warner Media, and to add to his duties with Turner Sports, there's speculation that one of those duties could be getting involved with AEW. We know already, of course, that Shaq is a wrestling fan and has appeared in wrestling quite a few times, whether that being the guest host of Monday Night Raw or appearing in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 32, I believe. That, of course, was meant to lead to a match with Big Show, which never happened for whatever reason, but Shaq seems keen to get involved again. Or is he just running his mouth because Shaq is one of the great trash talkers in all of professional sports history? I say trash talkers, he's more like just a bit of a joker, isn't he, sometimes? He's not malicious, he's just goofing around. Anyway, The Athletic's Richard Deitch noted in his story about the new contract that the possibility is in its embryonic stage at best. It's just an idea that's been very loosely talked about. But apparently O'Neal did have a message for Cody Rhodes, saying, "I'd love to fight Cody, write it, print it, text it to him, call AEW up and tell them." Very interesting stuff there, and quite honestly, quite honestly, who apart from the purest of wrestling purists could honestly say that they do not want to see Cody Rhodes versus Shaquille O'Neal? I do. It's almost like a bit of a dream match for me. So I'm just throwing that out there. I want this match to happen a lot. I think I want it more than Jericho Tyson. So that's it for this news video. Thank you tremendously for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Keep your eye out for loads of great content on this channel coming up. And also leave your thoughts and opinions on any of these stories in the comment section down below. If you haven't seen Tom's news video and you want more news, check that out earlier on this channel today. And stay safe out there, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.